Welcome to Spooky News for February 21st, 2020. We got a lot to get to, so let's get right to the news. I know I talked quite a bit about Kirk Hammett's display of horror movie memorabilia and stuff that was at the Royal Ontario Museum. Well, it's now moving to the Columbia Museum of Art in Columbia, South Carolina. So, if Toronto, Canada was too far for you to travel and you're closer to South Carolina, now's your chance to get in there and see this display of horror memorabilia from a real collector um, of the stuff. So, get out there and check out the museum. If you're planning a trip to Universal Studios Orlando, and if you're into monster movies, I mean, you probably wouldn't be watching these if you didn't like monster movies and horror, but you might want to hold off because Universal Orlando is going to be adding some new sections of the park, and one of them is going to be classic monsters. It's going to be devoted to, Frankenstein, the werewolf, Dracula, and certainly that's going to be opening in 2023. So that should be a really popular destination for horror fans when it does so. I'm not a big theme park guy, but if I had the opportunity to go to that one, I think I certainly would. That would be cool stuff. It's not the your ordinary kind of theme park sort of attraction. So I think I would definitely go to that if you're gonna be planning trips to Orlando. I If you can, I would wait until that thing opens and go check it out. It's just a reminder, Spooky Ventures and all the Spooky Ventures YouTube channel and pretty much everything Spooky Ventures is meant to be interactive. So please interact, share our videos, like our videos, subscribe, leave us comments what you'd like to see. If you got some videos you'd like to share with us, please do that. We're always interested in interacting. Another list, this one from Film Daily, has the creepiest real life horror stories. It's horror stories that inspired horror movies and books. And some of them I knew, like The Shining and Annabelle. I didn't realize that there was supposedly a true story about a creepy doll that inspired the movie Child's Play. So there's several others here. You should have a look at the list, read through the articles. It's kind of interesting stuff. Like I say, I learned something out of it, and maybe there are some things in there you didn't know about too. Pretty cool stuff. The poster for Guillermo del Toro's Antlers has been revealed, and it's pretty bold looking poster. You'll have to have a look at it. I'll share an article that has a picture of it. Keeping it spooky is always a good thing, but sometimes you can do it with a sense of humor. And Screen Rant has a cool list. You guys know I love lists, right? Talk about it all the time. But they have a cool list of the 10 silliest apes in horror movies. And I don't know about you, but if you've seen some old horror movies, actually some of these movies on this list are pretty new, but if you've seen some of the old ones, some of those apes were pretty silly. So this is kind of a cool list. I would heartily recommend you check it out. Fans of classic horror will remember William Castle and his gimmicks for all of his movies. Well, gimmick or not, there's a new movie coming out called Antrim, uh, the deadliest film ever made. And the gimmick behind it, believe it or not, is that the movie's cursed and you're going to die, or you have a good chance of dying if you see it. Supposedly, the movie was made in the 70s, and it was only ever shown once. The theater caught on fire while it was being shown, and something like 80 some people died in the fire. And so the story goes that if you're destined to die and you see this movie, that'll happen really quickly then. Um, I don't believe in curses like that, but if you do, I don't know if you'd want to go out and see that movie. On the other hand, I bet it'll bring lots of people out. I mean, it's just now going into theaters for the first time since that one showing. So, I don't know. Maybe it's just a really bad movie, and that's why it was only shown once. Uh, who knows? I really haven't seen it, obviously, so I can't tell you, but, you know, go see it if you feel like you want to brave the curse. Personally, I don't think it's a curse. I think it's a gimmick. William Castle would have been proud as far as I'm concerned. And you know what? It might be a really scary movie. You guys know about my love of lists. Well, there's a new list from Screen Rant called 10 Best Sci-Fi Horror Movies That Blend the Genres Perfectly. And that one's really right up my alley. You know, I love science fiction, I love horror. That's why I founded Tales of Wonder and Dread to do science fiction and horror. Um, and the list has some great stuff in it. For one thing, there's the largely unappreciated Event Horizon. I mean, I love that movie. To me, is just so good, and so many people hate on it or have never seen it. But you've got stuff like the Terminator, which you know can't argue with the first Terminator movie, and of course Alien. Now, to me, the movie Aliens is probably the sequel is probably a superior film, but it doesn't balance the horror and the science fiction as well. It's a lot more of a science fiction adventure and less a horror movie, whereas the first one does a great job of putting the two in pretty much equally. So I just gave you a couple of them on the list, but have a look at the list. It's really well done. I think it's one of my favorite lists I've seen in a while of movies. There are no new horror movies opening this weekend, but for home video, Color Out of Space, the H.P. Lovecraft film with Nicolas Cage, is going to be available for home video as of next Tuesday. So I know I'm looking forward to that one. I can't wait to see it. So keep your eyes open and enjoy. And that's a wrap for this edition of Spooky News. Be sure to join us next week for more. Spooky Ventures is the home for spooky content and spooky merchandise on the web. Check it out today at spookyventures.com. And remember, always keep it spooky.